Hey everybody, Crew Chief Eric here from Grand Touring Motorsports. You are joining us live for the 19th annual Toyota Green Grand Prix. This is really a time distance rally sanctioned by SCCA, the Sports Car Club of America. The idea here is to promote, obviously, green initiative vehicles, but also maximum efficiency when driving. So there's a mixed class of cars here, from gasoline to diesel to electric to hybrids and everything in between. Even some alternative homebrew cars are going to be out here. There's about 45 cars registered for this event. We're going to be doing 80 miles of Watkins Glen in about an hour and a half. So pretty interesting. I'll be giving you some commentary along the way, kind of reading you some of the additional rules. Hang on, I'm not sure why we got music playing. We are going to do an orientation lap here of Watkins Glen. Need to stop that. Pause. All right, we are back. We are back here on Watkins Glen. So we are using the full course of Watkins Glen. It's 3.4 miles. We're going to be doing, again, about 80 miles. I've read also in the documentation it's about 74 miles total. I'm going to go ahead and reset my trip counter, and we're heading into turn one. What we're doing here is just basically a sighting lap. Then they're going to bring us into the pits for a staggered rally type of start. And then as they announced during the driver's meeting, if you caught that part of the video, the target speed is going to be 46 miles per hour. Now, we're using standard, MyLapse transponder type of devices attached to each car. Why does the music keep playing? That is super annoying. Well, that's going to be annoying to figure out how to make it stop doing that. To stop. Maybe I need to kill Bluetooth, and that would help. So let's do that. Alright, let's go back to our live stream. Alright, we are back. Sorry about the interruption. Just trying to get the Sirius XM to stop playing while we're doing this. So I've personally had the luxury of driving Watkins Glen for hundreds and hundreds of laps and coaching students through organizations like Hooked on Driving and SCCA and Chin and others. So I'm going to be trying to drive the race line as much as I possibly can. That way I can maximize my momentum. I got to play with how the Jeep is going to do in the tow section of the boot here at the Glen. We are using the full course. We're going to use the bus stop. I'm going to try to run, again, the racing line as much as I possibly can. So, we'll play around with different things. I'm also running my AIM Solo as a backup to the transponder on vehicle, so I can actually see what the lap times are. Oh, we're not using the bus stop. Look at that. They have it coned off, so we're getting a nice long straightaway here. The math that we did back at the office, 80 miles at roughly 45 miles an hour meant an average lap time of about 4 minutes 28, which is really, really long compared to what we normally do with a track car. So really curious to see what the Jeep does in comparison to the rest of the vehicles out here. As you can see in front of me, I got a Prius, I've got a Miata, there's another Prius and a Miata in front of that, kind of leapfrogging every other car here. The BMW is our base car. I'm in a 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee Eco Diesel. They only built these for 2 years, 2014 and 2015. 34,000 units produced worldwide, so not very many of them. Everybody kept walking up to me and go, wait, this is a diesel? Yes, it is. Making roughly 500 foot-pounds of torque. It's like 495 or 97 out of a 3-liter single turbo diesel. On the way up here, my average miles per gallon coming through the mountains from the DC area was about 31 and a half. So very curious to see what it does here on track. This is going to be the worst section of the track because it's a 160-foot rise in less than a quarter mile. So jokingly, we refer to this as 600 horsepower hill, because in any car that isn't making 600 horsepower, it's a bit of a chore to come up this hill at any sort of speed. So again, utilizing the race line, I'm hoping to carry as much speed as possible, minimize the amount of shifting that the Jeep is going to do. This is equipped with the 8-speed ZF transmission that was also equipped in the Mercedes at the time, because at the end of the day, this is an ML350 underneath with an Italian diesel, not the Mercedes CRD, so we're going to kind of toss that out the window. This is a commercial Italian diesel, again 3-liter single turbo, so I've had really good, luck with it, reliability. It's been a great hauler. It can tow almost 7,800 pounds, so it's been great for just about everything. And I am also on air ride suspension and not coils, so the Jeep I will kind of, I'm not going to say cheat a little bit, but I'm going to put it in aero mode so it will drop itself down, and that way it's a little bit more fuel efficient, going down the road. Oops. So you just heard it beep as I switch between sport and regular drive mode. I also kind of curious to play with the flappy paddle gearbox that this has to see if maybe that's better. Like right now I could put it in manual mode and shift up instead of having it sit here lagging in 4th gear. I'd love to have this, in high gear as much as possible, getting the revs down to save on fuel. So here we are coming through turn 10 into 11, and they're going to make us go into the hot pit, and then they should stagger the start. It's kind of funny, at 40 some miles an hour, you wouldn't think that you would need to track out as much as you would at 80 miles an hour in some of these turns, but again, we're trying to maximize our average speed, right? We're trying to keep things as constant as possible, because that's where the efficiency comes in. There is a 4-minute mandatory pit stop. I don't know when exactly I should take it. Can I take it at the beginning and just keep running? I mean, the diesel doesn't really care. So it looks like they're pulling us over to the side. They also said, as you guys can see here on the Jersey wall, there are numbers. We're not allowed to stop at 23, 24, or 25. We either have to take our pit stop before or after the numbered slots here in pit lane. This way the transponder system does not go completely haywire. Turn my center screen off. Well, actually, I'm not going to turn my screen off. I am running the air condition. It's 71 degrees outside right now. I'm kind of thinking I might just shut that off, gain back a little bit of economy. I'll put on circulation. If I start to boil, I'll put the air on. This motor makes so much torque, it does not really care if there's not a ton of parasitic loss with the air conditioner on. And by the way, I can see the chat, so if you have any comments or questions, throw them up there. Happy to debate, happy to answer questions about the track. So we are just waiting for this officially to kick off. By the way, that orientation lap was like 6 minutes. So we're going to go a little bit faster than that, hopefully. I'm hoping they give us at least 10 or 15 second stagger between cars. As I mentioned, there is a gas class, so that's why we have, NA Miata out here running. There's also a Saline Mustang. There's a bunch of other, it's everyday kind of cars in this event alongside of the Prix and myself, and there's a Ford Lightning out here. There's also a Rivian SUV, a bunch of other stuff. And then later today, there's going to be an autocross, which we won't be participating in with the Jeep, but we will be streaming it or recording it, if nothing else, from the autocross lot. And that's where you'll get to see some of the Formula SAE EV cars that have showed up, some of the homebrew things that are here. There is a Geo Metro that was converted to an EV that I saw in the paddock, so there's some interesting stuff out here. Didn't see anything really oddball like Bob had talked about on the podcast episode that we did on Break Fix, where nobody showed up with these steam-powered or, wood-powered kettle cars or anything like that. Everything seems pretty germane in the lineup here. We are limited to 45 cars, which is still a lot of folks on track, especially spacing everybody out on a 3.4 mile circuit. On my next lap, I unfortunately, because I was messing around with the Bluetooth, I want to see where the flaggers are. I'm assuming in the standard places that you come to expect, like on a normal track day. Luckily, the Jeep's pretty quiet. I'm sitting here. Oh, we got a green flag. We have a green flag. First car off. Right now, you guys can see on my dashboard, I had reset my counter as they instructed to. Going out, I'm sitting at 27.5 miles per gallon. My aim is right here. Just waiting for the green, and we are a go. Pit out is pretty tight, so can't carry too much speed through there. But again, we're not supposed to be speeding through here anyway. I guess I don't have to worry about the blend line, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's just good practice. It's good behavior. I'm literally completely off the gas. So I'm at 41 miles an hour, GPS confirmed, 44, 45. I'm gonna turn on the cruise control at 45. There it is, 46 according to the aim, and let's see what the Jeep does. So coming up the hill, turn 2, it just double downshifted to 5th gear. I wish I had a boost gauge on this, or the performance package from Mopar to be able to show, what the engine is doing. Upshifted to 5th gear. What I'm hoping though is I don't end up with a regen during this, which is like 12 to 20 miles of torture, and the fuel consumption goes completely down the drain as it's doing that. I was hoping it was going to do one on the way up here because it's about a 260 mile drive from home, but did not happen. So the other thing we're going to do is, because we're not quite aero mode, I have to drop it into sport, and it should lower the car. I feel the nose going down. There it is. It just says aero mode confirmed. You can see that. So it just dropped the Jeep down. I'm going to put it back in drive instead of sport because we don't need to keep the revs up. So I'm just going to take this super late. This is a maintenance throttle corner on any track day anyway. Here's the apex cone, just on the edge of the gators. It's kind of funny because it is putting the brakes on with the cruise control, which is kind of super annoying. But it's doing the braking for me, so I guess I don't have to worry too much. Normally I would take this a little tighter. I don't know how convinced I am that the Jeep will go through here under full cruise control, so I just tap the brakes. I'm going to nose it in. I'm going to just hit reset and let it pull through on its own. Use every inch of the track and just run the race line. I do have a feeling in this instance though that the cruise control is probably going to work against me. So here I got to brake, I got to set this up. I'm going to take it late. I'm going to let the Jeep just kind of nose in. I'm going to ease onto the throttle. It just downshifted to 5th, and I'm barely touching the gas, hoping that the turbo spools up and does the work for me. I'm holding the turn at 38 miles an hour. So maybe we can get through there a little bit faster. I'm going to hit reset. we are not supposed to pass in this section of the track, but also wondering why they're over there, because all this movement back and forth, yes, it's adding length, but I don't get it. I'd rather drive the race line. There's our turn-in point, and here comes the apex. And I am completely off the gas. My fuel consumption calculator has jumped to 28.5. Again, for a 5,000-pound SUV with all full-time all-wheel drive, I cannot complain with how this motor runs. I also don't think I've ever driven it this slow. I mean, my mileage per gallon coming up to the Glen was at 68 miles an hour or whatever with the air conditioner on. So we are going to see if we can get around these Prix, because we are doing less than the target speed. They said the minimum is 35, but I'm tired of the Jeep shifting, so I still don't have a recorded lap on my aim though, which is weird. It knows we're at the Glen. Alright, I'm going to put my turn signal on, going around these guys. Staying within the 55 miles an hour. Oh, there we go. 4:52.96 was the last complete lap. So we definitely need to go a little faster. I do think they should have talked about the blend line. I'm going to cut into turn 1, and hopefully this guy looks over his shoulder and he sees me, because otherwise it's going to get really ugly real quick. And we got two cars coming out at the same time. I should have right away, but they didn't talk about this. So we're going to hang out here. I'm going to cut into 2. Now I'm just driving. The turbo's singing right now. Seventh gear. Alright, let's see if we can get around this guy. Since there's no bus stop, I don't have to prepare for turn 4. I can just go right around him. I've never actually driven this track without the bus stop. I was looking forward to taking the race line through there and just hopping some curbs, but I guess not. Tap the brakes just to settle it in, and then completely off the gas. The momentum will just carry us down through here. It's completely downhill. I'll let it track out. I'm going to try to shorten up 6. I'm going to tap the brakes, nose it in, and let it track out. My tires are not even squealing one bit. For anybody that's curious, I'm running Pirelli Scorpion Verdes. I'm on 20-inch, 265 50/20s is the size I'm running. Not nearly as large as an SRT8, but the largest that Jeep offered at the time. Compared to the base models that were running 18s. Alright, resetting to cruise control, coming up the hill. I'm going to bump that up to 46 instead of 45. I've got a GR Corolla behind me. You guys probably saw him as I passed them coming through the pit out. The Insight is still back there. And up ahead is a Toyota Crown, brand new for this year here in the States. They sold that car in Japan for quite a long time. Another part of Toyota's hybrid fleet. Toyota Toyota is the named sponsor of this particular event, so it's cool to see them bring out cars like the GR Corolla. They've got a Camry, they've got a bunch of other stuff to include the Crown and the brand new Prius, which if you haven't seen the new Prius, looks a lot better than it did in days past, so the redesign is quite nice. Alright, we're back in cruise control through here. This is just, feels like lazy river compared to when I'm coming through here with the race car. Let's see what this lap brings us in terms of lap time. Again, we calculated back at the office about 4 minutes 28. That was based on 80 miles. Again, the rules say about 74. I feel like I need to give this guy a point by because he's hanging off my rear end, but he's also drafting me. I am like a school bus out here. All right, we are at 4:07. We dropped 40 plus seconds on our lap time. Could have also helped that, you know, we did just shy of 60 on the back straight, but to get around some folks, reset that. I haven't decided yet if braking is better than just canceling the cruise control or just letting it coast through the corner. I guess we'll figure that out as we go along. And he is crawling up my rear end. All right, go. Yeah, you can't pass me in the S's there, bro. Not gonna happen. Cruise control is doing a good job of maintaining average speed, so no issues there. Tons of gears. It's actually a pretty close ratio gearbox. So moving between 5, 6, and 7, almost virtually seamless. You can't even tell. We are 22 minutes into this. This ends at 11:45 Eastern Time, and then we move on to a Tech Talk kind of brown bag session at noon in the Media Center, and then the autocross will be after that. All right, coming up on what would normally be turn 5. I left the cruise control on. I just kind of pitched it in. Feel the brakes, and feel the computer adjusting. I hit cancel. Again, because I don't trust the Jeep in this corner. So we're gonna go wide. I'm gonna tap and just let it tuck in. Come to apex. I'm trail braking in here just to keep the Jeep stable. Ooh, I got it to chirp a little bit in the back. The Jeep's all-wheel drive is rear-wheel bias, so it's kind of nice. In the bad weather, especially the rain and the snow, you can throttle steer, which is a lot of fun. This Corolla keeps diving inside of me, but he apparently does not know the line. Oh yeah, we got singing tires now. That's fun. All right, go around. Go, go, go. You go. Not gonna bother me. So let's see, tire pressures wise, I can pull that up on the computer too. We are looking at, I'm right now hot at 42 pounds all the way across. I set him 38 cold, and then when I drove in this morning for tech, they were at 39.6. So on the highway, I was seeing about 44 pounds all the way around. But again, I'm not hearing any squealing. Although I don't get an opportunity to check for rollover until we come into the pits, so. Turn 9 is super tight. There's zero runoff here. My water bottle just went flying across the cabin. It's okay. Keep it down here. Tuck into 10. I mean, if I was a guy in the GR Corolla, I don't know that I could do this at 45 miles an hour. I would want to be doing at least 100 down the straightaway. I mean, come on. You got 300 horsepower on tap in that thing. Alright, lap time, we're about to cross start finish. 4:21. I think that's probably closer to where we want to be. We need to get consistent. We're kind of all over the map now between a 4:07 and a 4:52. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit cancel, tap the brakes to set up turn 1, just let it nose in gently, and then track out. I'm gonna hit reset, get us back to quote unquote 46 miles an hour. As you can see here, I'm gonna pull it down. You can see my aim. I don't know if I can focus on it. There you go. That's where we're at. Be a good time to look at oil temps too. So it's funny, real-time calculator says going up this hill I'm getting like 18 miles to the gallon, and then suddenly it just jumps because it lets completely off. Average by computer 29.7 miles to the gallon, 29.6. Let's see what else we got here in terms of data that I can share with you guys. Transmission temperature is 168 degrees. Oil temperature is at a constant 203. I am running, 201. Looks like it just cooled off. The Jeep does come equipped with some interesting front shutters that change the temperature, the cooling for the radiators and the intercooler and stuff like that, because diesels are super efficient when they're kept warm and kept at a constant, RPM range. So it tries to do all these adjustments to maximize the efficiency so it can pull back fuel. So I'm bouncing between 201 and 203. It's currently 72 degrees outside, so it's interesting. I am running Mobil 1 turbo diesel oil. It's a 10W40 that you can buy off the shelf now at Walmart. You didn't used to be able to find it just about anywhere, but I switched to that. I used to run Spec Chrysler oil. I used to run Total. I've tried Motul, things like that. The turbo diesel Mobil 1 seemed to be the best so far until I got introduced to Evolve, which is a non-petroleum based oil, and my service interval is getting pretty close, so I'm going to switch over to that as I continue to switch over my fleet of vehicles to Evolve. We did it first on my wife's Pacifica hybrid, and it made a huge difference. It dropped about 10 degrees in terms of oil temperature with the AC on in the mountains on a long trip, and her fuel, her MPGs have also gone up, which is nice. So, and as they make their claims about the oil, so that's good. I don't know about horsepower because we haven't dynoed it, anything like that, but realistically, the logic there, the science is the cooler you can keep the motor, the more opportunity you have to be more efficient, right? It's going to move, the viscosity of the oil is better, keeping motors cooler, they're going to run better, more efficiently, things like that. So I don't want to dive too deep into it. Plus I need our resident chemical engineer to kind of fill in the details on all that stuff anyway. I'm techie, not sciencey, so it's very different. If this was a regular track day, I would be bragging about how the GR Corolla could not shake me, but since we're all basically doing the same speed, I guess it's not fair to say. You couldn't lose me. No. I had you going into turn 10. Let's see. What else kind of data do I have available to me here? My alternator's charging. Got plenty of depth. Tire pressures, I'm right at 43. What's funny is the left front is not as, normally you'd be beating it up, and it's actually running at 42 compared to the rest of the car, so. I don't have anybody drafting me, so I guess when you guys look at the other video with the rear-facing camera, that's kind of super boring, I guess. That insight is really far back there. All right, 424. So last lap was a 421. We're at 424. If we can sort of lock that in, we might be okay. All right, turn singing from the right side of the car. It's interesting. I can only imagine what the suspension deflection is like on these turns. I will say I have had this Jeep on other tracks at speed and in bad weather conditions as well. It is a lot of fun. The handling of this thing is actually quite good for being a 5,000 pound SUV. The all-wheel drive is pretty amazing. Again, it's rear wheel bias, so you can have a lot of fun with it, especially throttle steering it through corners in the rain and stuff like that. You know, you see Jeeps all the time on the road, and you're just like, oh, it's just another Jeep like anything else. But it's actually quite a formidable vehicle. I've been in some other SUVs where they feel very top-heavy, they just feel cumbersome, you know, or maybe very rigid. Like take you know, one of the Toyotas that's still built on, you know, body on frame type of thing, and it just has that kind of pickup truck feel to it. The Jeep's always been a little bit more luxurious. You know, you can feel like maybe you're more like in a Chrysler 300 driving around than you are, you know, in a truck. The interior on this one in particular is more similar to like a 300, so it's deceiving. Very smooth, you know, no real issues to report. So far through turn 5, I've been able to keep the cruise on. I have been canceling it right about the apex, or as soon as I see the apex cone, so that it can just naturally come out of this corner rather than put on the brakes, because obviously I don't want to chew up the brakes doing this. If anybody's curious, I run Hawk LTS pads. They're awesome for towing. They like to be really hot, like all Hawk pads do. They make a massive amount of brake dust though. We always use this vehicle as part of our wheel bake-off every year when we're cleaning our wheels and we're baking off different wheel cleaning solutions. So we usually start with the Jeep because it's, you know, kind of gross, and then we move on to the race wheels because they're even worse. The DTC Hawk pads are really some caustic brake dust, and they're pretty gross, and they can mar up the wheels pretty well. So come on, re-engage. So far I haven't dropped lower than 5th gear in the slowest corners. Just kind of letting the Jeep do its own thing. We've done 18.7 miles out of the allotted, let's call it 74. Really feel when the cruise control kicks the brakes in. These Hawks have really good bite, so it's really obvious when it's engaging the brakes. Now I'm not going to go crazy and do any sort of hypermiling, you know, put in neutral and coast and all that kind of stuff. That's more fun in a manual than, you know, forcing the transmission. And I don't want to miss a shift and, you know, have it yell at me that I tried to put in reverse by jumping back in gear or something like that. So, or mistakenly slam it into park. So I don't want to do that. A little chirp from the front tires. So what I've been doing now is canceling the cruise going into the corner and then resetting resetting it as I exit. That way it's more natural acceleration, but I'm letting the computer handle it. So 425 on that lap. A little bit slower than the last one, but more consistent. So we're going to go ahead at the 100. We're going to cancel. I'm going to get on the brakes. I'm going to let it nose in. It sort of just floats. And we're going to hit reset. So what's nice about the air suspension over the coil suspension on this vehicle is the air suspension is always adjusting. So it kind of compensates in the corners, which is really, really nice. Trying to keep it as level as possible all the time. I have some really neat metrics I can bring up on the multifunction interface, which is, by the way, a carryover from Mercedes. And it'll show me suspension articulation, it'll show me power output through the different drive axles and things like that. So really useful for off-road. I don't know so much today, but it is kind of fun to geek out and look at. I do have the all-wheel drive set in auto mode. I have different modes like sand and snow and rock and things like that. None of that necessarily, is not necessary for this. Oh, my onboard computer is saying, look at that, 30.6 miles per gallon. It just dropped to 30.5. Again, some of the absolute slowest laps I've ever done at Watkins Glen. Going into 5. I'm looking for that apex cone. Should be coming up here any second. There it is. And I'm going to hit cancel just to let it cruise down on its own. When I come out of the corner, I'm doing about 50-51. So I'm picking up a little bit of speed, but I need that because I have to sacrifice it going through this corner. I'm going to take it wide and just let it pitch in. Coming through here at about 42. A little bit of singing from the tires. I'm going to use all of the track out to regain my speed. Well, the Insight has appeared in my rearview mirror. He's still back there though. A little bit of brakes just to let it nose in. Now I'm going to throttle out on my own right at the apex. This is where I waste the most fuel because there's just no way to do this. .8. Alright, at the 100 we hit cancel. Just tap the brakes enough to nose it in. Just a little bit. As you notice, I'm hitting my track out cone. A little bit of brakes to set up 9, just because I'm apprehensive coming through here a little too quickly. Back in the cruise control. Our exit speed there was 43, which wasn't too bad, so it didn't even really do anything in terms of adding more fuel. It seems to just be hanging out in 6th gear the whole time because we're not going fast enough for it to double downshift and go into basically what would be double overdrive. Little chirp as I kind of set the steering early and it was like chirp. I don't know if the live stream picks that up or not, but I'm definitely hearing just a light chirp from the tires. They're not singing, but it's just on initial steering input. There's a guy in the stands. Look at that. Coming into turn 1 again. We'll hit cancel at the 100. Just tap the brakes. Let it track out. Give it a little gas. I don't know about you guys, but I think that Corolla is drafting that crown. Oh, he's going to go around him in the S's? That's not right. We're not supposed to do that. Oh, he didn't, but he is really close. Really close. 31.3 miles per gallon. Done 23 miles. I'm thinking somewhere around the halfway point we will come into the pit and take that 4-minute break. I'm just not sure when I should be doing that. The other thing they didn't say is whether or not the vehicle has to continue running the whole time. Obviously, if I can turn it off, it sort of feels like cheating. Like, maybe it shouldn't be running the whole time. I mean, diesels are really efficient at idle. Like, turning them on and off actually wastes more fuel. Especially most cars have a 8 to 20 second enrichment where they're dumping more fuel when they're first firing back up. Now, that changes due to cold start, versus hot start, but still, it does take more fuel to start and stop an engine all the time. Why did these guys slow way down? Wow, how did we catch them? I am now confused. We are on top of this Corolla. I am completely out of cruise control. I am not touching the pedals at all. If anybody's out there, you want to join the conversation, you can hit us up on Discord. Look for Pitbox number 14 by Grand Touring Motorsports out on Discord. Or check out any of our websites, gtmotorsports.org or club.gtmotorsports.org for that link. I think we're going to get messed up on this lap because I have been I kind of fell into a little bit of red mist here chasing these guys, and I haven't been really good about getting back into the cruise control. Coming through turn 7 here, the toe of the boot, 36 miles an hour. I need to overlay this data with race car data. Let's see what it looks like. It's a little different going into that turn at 100 plus, scrubbing off speed and then trying to get out of it as quickly as possible. I think we go faster on our parade laps than we do when doing this. I don't know where he's going, but this is how you take turn 9. Because I need to be way out here at that cone. Just throw it in there. I am barely on the throttle. We're at 31 miles to the gallon. That's the new Prius. I thought that was the Crown. The Crown is somewhere here in the mix, but that is the new Prius. I haven't been so close to it yet to see it, but saw it at the DC Auto Show in a different color. Looks interesting in that metallic white. It's the same color Mattel uses on some of their Hot Wheels. 4:25.47, so we are in that range. 4:24, 4:25, that's good. Our fastest lap, 4:07. I see Jason Kellogg over my shoulder in the Alfred State van. He's going to be doing some flying laps, so high probability he's going to be passing us, which is fine. He's in a 6-liter Chevy van, all gas. He's giving joyrides to folks that are not participating in the event. Going a little faster through here only because I'm trying to give a little bit of leeway to the folks that are coming out of the pit. No, that was a double kick down. Didn't want that. What are we doing here? Alright. Alright, Corolla guy. You're going to have to get over it. Or sit there. I'm not sure which. You're killing my lap. So I'm going to set the cruise. We could go 4 wide here. I mean, it's not the end of the world. 3 wide for sure. Just wave hello. I love the expression on people's faces sometimes when they're driving. I mean, he looked like he was going down the Mulsanne at Le Mans. It's high concentration. It's good stuff. It is a lot of thought to do this because my natural instinct is to want to put my foot down and just go around everybody. And it's not like the Jeep won't do it, but I don't need to be out here doing 80 either. Alright, now we're going to throw it in the corner, get down to the apex, which is way down here. There it is, and then we're going to let it push out. Should be passing where the wheels are perceived straight. That would make this easier. .8 miles to the gallon according to the trip computer. Alright, we're going to go around these guys because I'm not going to sit here all day. We can do our 55. Look at them all behind me. HPDE champion there. Crushing them all in the Jeep. It's brilliant. Alright, we are back in it. I feel like this is a throwaway lap. But we might have made up some speed by doing 55 through there just to get around those guys. So let's see what we got here. Because now we can kind of tip back into our regularly scheduled programming. 46 mile an hour locked in, headed into turn 10. Got the Mustang way back there. And we'll just toss it into 10. Let it come on through. Hit our apexes. They also didn't say whether or not I could take my pit stop at the end. There's so many questions about these rules. What do we get? What do we get? Start finish coming up. Let's see. Did we throw it away? 4:31. So 6 seconds off pace. That's okay. Alright, we're gonna have some more consistent laps. So a little bit of brakes going in. Tuck it in, let it coast through 1, pick up some speed on the way out, and back to 46. 46 is the magic number, as seen during the driver's meeting. Watkins, Glen. And there are people everywhere if you camera it. And all my apex cones. We are at 31.3 miles to the gallon after 30 miles of distance. My fuel gauge hasn't even budged. Nope, we're running at optimal temperature. We can kind of scroll through some of the data here. Look at that. Current computer says we're running at 26. This is real-time calculated. Let's see what else we got. You guys can see. Cruise control set, full-time all-wheel drive. These are my tire pressures. Trans temp. There's my oil temp. Service life. And my alternator works. Let's put this back up there for a second while we come through. We'll do some more data here. I'm going to show you guys what the suspension articulation drive shaft stuff looks like. I forgot to cancel it, so it's putting on the brakes. Alright, it is 10:30. There's still like another hour of this to go. So I apologize if you think it's boring. It's actually kind of exciting in a way. I mean, just driving on track in general is pretty exciting, but I have clear track. I have nobody behind me. I don't know where they went. Maybe they all took their pit stop. Alright, we are coming out of 7, accelerating up the hill, locking in our speed. Here at the 100. It's like the shortest braking zones I think I've ever had on a track. And unfortunately, I can't get rid of that tendency to want to just set the nose up to get it to bite. And so, you know, the track habits are hard to break. Let me see if I can get to I am in improved aerodynamic suspension mode according to the screen, which is pretty cool. So you guys can see here, there is the steering angle, which is not going to be a whole heck of a lot. Wheel articulation, which would be interesting to see in the toe. Maybe I'll try to do that as we're going through the track here. And then you can see I'm in aero mode. Just cancel the cruise control. You can see there where the axles are shifting, it's turning orange, and then delivering power there. Put it back in cruise mode. So let me see if we can see anything as we're going through here. It's hardly any steering angle, so that thing is barely moving. You can hear it kicking down. You can also see how it's sending power to the back. Slick. Got a 24-gallon tank in this thing, so you can imagine what it costs to fill it. But on an average range of somewhere between 650 and 700 miles, I mean, I need to stop before the truck does generally. So 31.3 miles per gallon in holding. That's really not bad. I mean, again, we're on a racetrack doing 46 miles an hour. So, and it's not like this is completely flat. Again, the elevation between turn 2 and turn 4 is a 120-foot rise. The elevation between the midpoint between 7 and 8 is 160 feet. So, and it's a lot shorter distance. So it's not like the motor's just sitting here doing nothing. Would have been fun to have a co-pilot. Maybe next year, maybe next time. Anybody out there who wants to ride shotgun, have a little chit chat, we can turn it into a live break fix podcast episode. If you haven't heard of our podcast before, you can find us on all the majors, all your favorites, Apple, Spotify, Google, and then we're even available in places like India, on Ghana, and other networks like that. All you have to do is search for Break Fix, Break/Fix, or Grand Touring with no D, G-R-A-N Touring. We are also available on Podbean and a bunch of other places, and we're supported through Patreon. So if you're looking to help us out, keep the lights on, keep things going, check us out, patreon.com/GT, as in Grand Touring Motorsports. We put out new episodes every week. The premise of the show, other than keeping you guys on your toes, is to really capture living history, talk to people from industry, designers, race car drivers, all sorts of folks, whether it's artists, whether it's authors, etc., and really capture their stories, learn about how they became who they are, and try to help inspire you to become maybe like them or learn from them. How did, as an example, Andy Pilgrim came over from England and became a pro driver. Well, you probably don't realize that he started his career in IT, and he started autocrossing in a GTI back in the 80s, and how did he get his professional seat? Well, he started in SCCA. Folks like Bill Warner, who founded Amelia Island Concourse, came on the show, right? He started as a photographer, as he likes to say, on the other side of the fence, and then moved into journalism, racing cars themselves, and he started the Amelia Island Concourse. We had folks like Lynn St. James on the show, talked about how she went from running SCCA and Trans Am cars and finally made her way into the Indy 500 as the oldest rookie of the year at 42 years young when she did that back in the 90s. And she's still out there racing today, and she's an inspiration to women in motorsport everywhere. We've had authors on the show. Lee Raskin, a world expert on all things James Dean and the 550 Spider and 356. We've had folks like John W. Warner IV on. He wrote a historical fiction, or what they call revisionist history, revolving around Ferdinand Porsche and all the things that were going on in World War II. Great read. We've had folks like Larry Jorgensen on, talking about shipwrecks and finding 260 Chryslers that went down in Lake Michigan. We've had Barbie the Welder on as an artist. She's awesome. She does a lot of stuff for the motorcycle community. We just recently had, speaking of the motorcycle community, we had folks like Clive Savakul on, who's a AMF pro rider. And now he works as part of the AMF board to bring more safety to the motorcycle racing community, stuff like that. So again, the stories are all over the place, and they're a lot of fun. And then we do have sub-arcs on the show. We do things like What Should I Buy, which is always a roundtable panel discussion with petrol heads and experts talking about what first-time collectors should do, or should buy rather. Whether it's Italian cars, classic muscle cars, Porsches, whatever. So those are always a lot of fun. And then we do have a monthly news episode, which airs on the last Tuesday of every month, and we call that our drive-through. And the idea is we're capturing stories from all over the community, from different manufacturers, talking about EVs. There's always some Tesla news in there. We mix in some fun stuff, like we have Florida Man stories. We also talk about local news and events that are coming up, and we have promotions on there. So if you're looking to save some money and you want to come to places like Watkins Glen, try it for yourself. I can't recommend enough hooking up with Hooked on Driving. That's hookedondriving.com, especially the Northeast region. Watkins Glen is in their territory. We do have a promotional code you can use to save some money at checkout. It's BreakFix23, as in 2023. So BreakFix 2023, all one word at checkout. You can use that to save some dough on your registration if you want to come out here and turn some laps in whatever you've got, in your garage or at home. Inadvertently hit reset midway through that corner, and I put the brakes on. That was not good. Our last lap, by the way, was a 4:22, so a little bit faster than previous laps, but we're still sort of consistently in that 4:24 range, 4:23 range average. And I don't have a lot of trepidation about not winning my class. I think I am the only diesel here. But I would like to beat out some EVs, especially a lot newer hybrids and EVs that are out here. By the way, we're just an update on MPG. We're at 31.5. I'm hoping to hit 32, maybe a little over 32, but I got to get a little bit more focused on what I'm doing. As I was sort of pontificating there about the show, I started to just drive rather than really pay super close attention. Hence the 4:22 instead of our projected 4:24, 4:25 lap time. I really feel like the Jeep is weighted quite well. It doesn't tend to understeer. It's pretty neutral. Again, I've had this thing on track at speed, and it's always a lot of fun. With all the overhang over the rear end, it does, basically being a giant hatchback, there's a lot of weight back there, which is nice, and it seems to balance out the rest of the car. In addition to that, the V6 Via Motori Italian diesel, again, this is not the Mercedes, single turbo 3-liter. It sits closer to the firewall than the V8 does, especially compared to the Hemi or the SRT8, so I have a little less weight in the nose, even though I have a big old intercooler and a bunch of other stuff that is factory equipped. It's not like I added anything. You'll notice on the Instagram, I put up kind of a collage picture there, at Grand Touring Motorsports on Instagram. You'll see that I did do the intercooler piping kit upgrade. It's recommended on these only because the intercooler piping is, I hate to say it's junk. It's very thin silicone, it tends to swell, and unfortunately the main pipe on the upper side of the motor will rub against the engine cover. That plastic, says diesel Jeep there, when you lift the hood. So a lot of folks I know that have these, I mean, we're in a small community with only, 34,000 of these Jeeps made. I was told, you really need to do that, either buy the K&N hard pipe or buy the, I think it's like CXG Racing is the one I ended up with, and it's an all aluminum piping kit that's coated, and it did make a huge difference. I do have to keep track of the T-clamps from time to time. Most recently, I had one that had sort of worked its way loose, and I was venting a little bit of boost to atmosphere, and you could just really hear it whistle under heavy load, so I just had to go back in and put an 11mm on it, and I was done. I double nutted it to make sure that it didn't back off, so sort of a safety thing there, but so far so good. I mean, obviously if you can maintain boost pressure, you don't have any pipes swelling, things like that, you're going to be more efficient because the turbo's not working as hard, things like that. So that was the only real upgrade that I've done to this. Everything else is just bone stock, outside of, like I mentioned, the brake pads and things like that. Alright, we are 40 miles into this, so I'm thinking we should probably take our mandatory 4-minute pit stop. I don't know if do they put a stopwatch on you? Like, how do you know that you've been there for 4 minutes? Unfortunately, I'm using my phone to live stream this, so it's going to be really difficult to throw a timer up. Oh, we got to cancel that. Let's put on the brakes. .6 miles per gallon. Again, I want to put that in perspective. It doesn't seem like a lot. Like, there's people out there, I'm sure, with Volkswagen TDIs going, I can get 50 miles a gallon, and the Prius guys are saying the same thing. But bear in mind, I'm in a 5,000-pound SUV, and to be doing this and getting over 30 miles to the gallon is pretty awesome. Kicking down, 5th gear is as low as it's going. I haven't seen it drop into 8 at any point. It's sort of really floating between 5, 6, and 7. I do love the sound of a diesel. There's just something about that grunt and the whistle of a turbo. It's quite nice. I've been told some guys will put exhaust on these, but I'm like, I don't want the drone. I like that it's quiet going down the highway. I mean, I have the race cars if I want to make noise. Alright, so I'm going to pit in. We're going to do our mandatory pit stop, our 4-minute break here. I'm wondering if I should pass start finish just to log the lap so it's not like an 8-minute lap and get a more consistent lap in there. And there are a lot of people in the pits right now. So I have to go past 25. So 29, 28, 26, 27. There's the timing light. We're just going to cruise down here to lucky number 13. How about that? We will wait right here for the next 4 minutes. I'm assuming we turn off the car. I'm going to check the rules really quick before I do that. So, blah, 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 no drafting, no blocking, you will be black flag for violations. Okay, here we go. You are required to take one stop in the pits of exactly 4 minutes. You may choose when to take your stop. Note your time as you pass the pit entry cone. So we did a, what did we do? Does it say next? I think it was a 4:25. Oh, and it gives me my min and max speed on the, on the aim. That's cool. All right, back to the rules here. So slow gradually to 30 miles an hour. Stop in a pit that is available. Park next to the right side pit wall. Do not use pits 23, 24, or 25. Your transponder will interfere with the signal receiver. Plan to be passing the pit exit cone exactly 4 minutes from your pit entry time. Okay, so that was 10:45, so we have to wait till 10:49. If anybody's paying attention to the video, maybe give me an exact timestamp, because I did look down instead of really paying attention to what's going on. But it does not say whether or not I should turn the vehicle on or off. So I'm at 31.8 miles per gallon right now. Again, haven't had a regen, which is fantastic. And we'll just go from there. I guess just keep it running. Again, I have no AC on. As you guys can see here, I turned all that stuff off. 31.7 miles a gallon. We're just letting it just idle. You know, real-time MPG is nothing. So we just wait. Oh, one of our watchers has been timing me, so let me know when it's time to go. How much time do I have left? Two minutes. All right. I love it. Get back. We have done 43 miles, by the way. So we still have 30 miles to go-ish. Let's look at some of these rules while we're waiting. And I'll be looking for that text message when it's time to get out of the pit, because I want to maximize my track time. Let's see, what else does it say? End of the rally, you will get a white flag that signifies this is your last lap. You will be given a checkered flag right before you enter the pits. Okay, and then it's just a bunch of stuff about where to park and where to go, and if I need fuel. By the way, I just want to point out the gas gauge is still on full. It hasn't moved at all. We are losing MPG by sitting here idling for 4 minutes. As you can see, it's dropped. We are 3 minutes in to our pit stop. So we're just waiting. So nothing else of real significance on this rule sheet. They don't give you a lot to go by. If you tuned into the driver's meeting, they didn't say a whole lot. So it's just sort of figure it out. But again, it's all about consistency. It's all about trying to maintain that lap time. So our goal right now, I guess the math works out to about 4:24 is where we want to be. We have 30 seconds to go. Our executive producer Tanya is back in the studio, I guess, paying attention to what we're doing here. So we're getting updates, which is awesome. 3:45, 15 seconds to go. And since I have a second camera, it can be verified that we were timed. And go. Oh, and we are back in drive, and we are out. Leaving the pit at 31.5 miles per gallon. So we lost 0.3 of a mile per gallon sitting in the pit for 4 minutes. So now we're going to try to make up some ground. As you can see, we got the Rivian out there. We're going to get that Rivian. We're going to catch him. All right, I'm going to blend because, again, it is the right thing to do. You stay all the way to the right to the apex of the next corner as you exit the pit to give way to everybody that's coming out of the, or that's coming out, but give way to everybody that's out on track, rather. Climb the hill. There we go. 31.4. We've lost a little. Let's see if we can get that back up closer to 32. Again, my goal is 32 or better, which I think is pretty awesome for this thing. So coming up here, I mentioned earlier, there is a Geo Metro that has been converted to EV. He is going to be here on the left coming into view. We're probably going to catch up with him as we approach turn 5. You can see the Rivian has already passed 2 cars. I've got a Subaru, looks like an Outback on my tail. That'll be visible on the chase cam when we post the other video later today of the in-car. He is definitely doing more than 46 because he's catching up on me quick. But yes, the Geo Metro here. This is like a last-gen Geo Metro, obviously Suzuki Swift or whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna dig inside of him. I know we're not supposed to pass, but he's staying way out there, and I can take this on the inside. You just got passed by a Jeep. I just want to let you know. Oh goodness. We caught up with Corolla guy. He's up there too. A little singing from the front left. See tire. Where are my tire pressures at? I'm curious now. Give me data here. That Metro came up on me quick. I don't know what he was doing. I'm still floating around 43 PSI with the front left at 42 for whatever reason. I will say, if he dive bombs me like that again, he's gonna see the diesel. Although, to be honest, this thing doesn't smoke. This is not like the crop dusting, Dodge pickups or, VW TDIs after they've been modified. This thing does not smoke one iota. And that's part of the reason I like it. It's a sleeper. If you don't look for that green badge on the back that says Eco Diesel, this goes down the road and it's a Jeep. It's like, whatever. I'm sure there's some Jeep people out there that can correct me, but I believe the Gladiator also came with this motor for like a hot second. And they were supposed to bring back a newer revised version of the VM Motori diesel, but it's just been so messy with all the various, let's call them diesel gates, not just Volkswagen. It affected Chrysler, it affected Mercedes, it affected BMW. Everybody that was kind of running similar ECUs, and so I was hoping to see a re-release of the Jeep with the new motor and compare. But looking at the new 4xe that just came out, they're claiming with the hybrid, again similar kind of mileage, 32 miles to the gallon, kind of combined between that EMPG or whatever you want to call it. My only concern with that is whether or not it has any sort of tow capability. I'm pretty fortunate. The diesel comes with bigger brakes. It doesn't come with this Brembos that the SRT8 has, but the tow capacity, even with the air suspension, is 7,800 pounds. I can tow quite a bit. I can tow my race car with no issues. So I wonder with the hybrid, what do I lose? Am I back to standard kind of V6 Pentastar towing capacity, 5,500 pounds kind of deal, or is there more potential there, with the electric? So I haven't gone to go drive one yet. The price kind of shies me away. I'm also
not totally convinced on the new styling of the new Jeep. I don't like the L, I'll be totally honest for anybody that's listening. The long wheelbase, third row seat, replacement for the Durango, which shares the same kind of platform as the Wagoneer. I think it's too big. I think even this is big for me. It's probably the biggest car I've ever owned in reality. So I have seen the regular Grand Cherokee, and it's not bad. It's very well appointed. I'm just not a fan of the nose. I think it goes against what Fiat tried to do with this, what we call the WK 2.5, where they tried to make it more aerodynamic, which, by the way, I'm not in aero mode. I just now kicked it down. So there it goes. It lowered itself, so now I can take it out of aero mode. Or, I'm sorry, I can take it out of sport mode, rather. Sport mode is, again, a way of kind of cheating and putting it in aero mode because it lowers the front end. Or it lowers the whole vehicle, actually. There's one stage lower than this, but I can't get it to activate while I'm moving because it cancels itself after like 25 miles an hour, which is entry-exit mode, and it will slam the Jeep down basically on top of the tires, which is pretty cool. It's designed, because this thing is pretty tall, it's designed to help people get in and out of the thing without a step stool, but it would be kind of cool to run it at that mode and get lowered to the ground if possible. But I'll take aero mode all day long. Coming out of 7, I feel like we could go a little faster coming out of 7, but we're still targeting that 4:24 lap time. 4:23.9 on the last lap. I know you guys can't see my aim. If anybody's timing it by stopwatch, the aim is accurate. It will be the same as what the transponder reports to the tower. So not worried about that, but we're right in that target range that we want to be in, so that's good. Come on. .4. Again, I think it was smarter to leave it idling in the pit stop than turning it on and turning it off. It's just more fuel wasted. The motor's already hot. Just kind of let it sip what it needs just to idle. It does idle pretty low, so I think it was a smart move. It's just whether or not we can gain back those 4/10. We're at 31.5, so maybe we can slowly chip away at that. 49.4 miles out of the allotted, I guess it's 74 that we need to do. Basically 30 miles to go. We have 45 minutes left. I feel like we're going to finish early. I don't know that we're going too fast, but again, I'm locking this thing at 46 the best I can. I'm coming through these corners, exiting 43, 44 miles an hour. I'm trying to stay as average as I possibly can, so I can't see using the next 45 minutes to go 30 miles. By the way, we've jumped up 31.7, so we're starting to claw back a little bit of that pit stop that we had. Kick down, it's right here between 2 and 3 and in turn 7 where I'm wasting the most fuel just because of the rise. Now in the old days, the Green Grand Prix, if you tuned into the episode we did with Bob Gillespie, who's been running this event for nearly 20 years now, they actually used to do this event driving around Lake Seneca, which is nearly 80 miles long. And so obviously that would be a little bit more scenic than watching me drive around Glen at 45 miles an hour. But, this is what they do now. I think it's also probably a good thing, especially for the homebrew vehicles that show up. If they break, they're here. They're not in the middle of, public roads in the middle of traffic. You can always get stuck behind some farmer, moving his equipment early in the morning, between locations or something like that, and that really messes things up for you. So this is more controlled, it's more consistent, it's safer. Obviously we have EMS here, we have tow trucks. Not that we should really need any of that kind of stuff, but in case of emergency, we've got it available versus on the public roads waiting for AAA or the police or somebody else to show up. We are not required to run any sort of safety gear, helmets, gloves, anything like that. I do have all that stuff with me, just in case. I know they are going to run helmets during the autocross. I will say, if you're looking for safety gear and you're thinking about coming out to the track, please, by all means, check out one of our sponsors, Project Motoring. ProjectMotoring.com you can get bespoke and custom safety gear there. So great stuff that John Cafisi's putting together. So if you're interested, check out their website, reach out to John. He's a good guy. He'll work with you on prices. I've seen some of the craziest designs that he's been able to put together for racing suits and shoes and gloves and stuff like that. So really cool. If you're looking for more of the regular safety equipment, belts, gears, fire suppression, brake pads, stuff like that, check out our other sponsor, OG Racing. That's O as in octopus, G as in garden, racing.com for all the rest of your safety needs. Again, if you're looking for custom gear, check out Project Motoring. I feel like I should have done an oil change before coming to this event. But I'm also trying to maximize my dollars, right? I don't want to change my oil prematurely because the whole process for this thing requires fuel filter changes and a bunch of other stuff because you're supposed to do it all at the same time. But not that that's really that big of a deal, but I'm really curious. I would really be curious to do this again, running the Evolve oil in comparison to the Mobile One that I have in it now. I will be sending this oil off for testing at Blackstone Labs to set a baseline, just like we did with the Pacifica, and we're going to do with all the other vehicles. Blackstone's a great resource, one of the leaders in giving you, scientific testing of your oils. They can give you back information about how the condition of the motor is internally. Are you leaking fluids, or your bearings breaking down, or is there trace evidence of certain metals that shouldn't be there? Things like that. And so they're really great for that. And we did an episode, actually a crossover episode, with Joe Adams from Blackstone Labs, and he goes by Blackstone Joe in his show. The show's called Slick Talk, and he explains how that whole process works, how much it costs, what they do, what you get, all those kinds of things. So really awesome. And we've been a lot of the folks here at GTM use Blackstone, especially to maintain the health of their race cars, make sure that everything's okay, and even their tow rigs and everyday cars. So for what it costs, it's well worth it. I've been personally turning some wrenches on some problematic cars that belong to some customers, and I'm like, hey, let's send your oil out for analysis. Let's see what's going on. Why is your Vano sticking? Why is your VVT not working the way it should? What's going on inside of this thing? Why do you have to wait till it gets to a certain temperature? Why is your APR tune kind of complaining about things? So I like to get a baseline on those cars and get a better understanding of what's going on. Maybe there's metal shavings in there, or something else that's clogging up, or maybe the oil that they're running isn't really appropriate for the application. So really cool to check out, blackstone-labs.com. We're going to get the Prius. We're going to catch them. Behind me is, I believe, one of the Toyota fleet cars that they brought. You guys can't see it until you see the other video. It's one of the new RAV4 hybrids. Really interesting blue color. It's like a light blue gray. I kind of like it. I wish it was metallic though. That would make it even nicer. It kind of reminds me of like a crayon sort of color, like a Crayola. It came right out of the box. But I want to almost call it Armco blue. It's that sort of shade of blue. As we're looking at what they call the blue bushes here at Watkins Glen. There's plenty of those. Not a ton of runoff in some of these corners for sure, but lots of blue Armco. Kill the cruise control as we see the apex going. I'm watching that RAV4 lean going through the corners. I'd be really curious to see what the Jeep looks like from the outside. That
last lap was at 4:21, so we went a little quicker than we were targeting. I'm really trying to catch that cruise control on the track out so that it just kind of maintains the speed. 31.7, so we climbed back most of our pit stop. I'm chucking it in. Actually, I didn't mind that. 44 miles an hour through turn 7. The Jeep didn't really seem to care. But if I change my strategy now, it's going to change my lap times. Can't tell if that guy up on the hill is asleep or not. Again, I am trail braking into corners like this, just kind of braking late, just because I don't want the Jeep to do anything weird. And it's a very light touch on the brakes. It's not like jabbing them or whatever. Just sort of setting up the nose. I feel like that was early. It's a little bit of an early apex, but I'm still where I want to be. That line was. He's got this hippopotamus in his rearview mirror. The problem is, I don't want to be stuck behind you, so we're going to go around him. We're going to do the maximum 55, which is going to blast this lap, but 420, that's my new best. I'm gonna go into this tight only because he's hanging over my quarter panel. Just pretend it was an offline pass. I also wanted to put a little bit of distance on that Prius as we're catching up to the next one. Sorry guys, because that line was way too wide. I don't want to break my momentum. And as far as I can tell, there was no flagger there to see it, so we're good. You guys saw it at home. It's okay. Oh wow, they're 3 abreast behind me. Oh, you guys are gonna have to see that on the action cam later. They just split that white Prius that we went around. One guy went right, one guy went left. And they just both took them, and now they're sort of all bunched up against each other. So now the RAV4 is right behind me, and that Insight is still hanging out back there. I can see him in my side mirror. All right, approaching turn 5. We are going to stay into the cruise control until the flagger station here. Just let it coast to track out. This is where I'm sort of driving. I'm completely off the throttle. We're going to scrub off speed down here. I'm going to trail brake in. And then I'm just going to let it pull itself out on its own. And see, I'm right on the edge of the curbing. Back into that. Using all the track. Exit speed was 47. I like it. So we're going to chuck it in, let it scrub off the speed as we come around to the apex. There it is. Oh, I like that so much better. Should have been doing that the whole time.
still drops all the way to 5th gear, rather. But I feel like we're not powering up through there as much as we were before. Turn 9. Come on. I gotta hit all my marks. Because otherwise, all my racing buddies will be making fun of me. I'm surprised people aren't posting in the chat. Early! Early! Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Crossing over that pit line, it's all good. 59.3 miles complete. 31.6 miles per gallon average. See it right there. We've been out here for 1 hour and 29 minutes. That was a 4:17. Ah, we went faster somehow. Trail brake into turn 1 just to get it nose in, use the curving, and back into that cruise control. I'm not sure why this Honda was braking going into 2. I did consider like left foot braking just for the practice. At this speed, it's easy. I highly recommend it with an automatic if you need to practice left foot braking. You know, do it somewhere safe, somewhere like this. You got an hour and a half of just kind of going around. You can definitely practice ruddering or left foot braking. Harder to do in a manual transmission car for sure, but it does translate once you kind of have the feel for it. The bigger problem is that your left leg doesn't generally have the same muscle strength and refinement that your right leg does, between the accelerator and the brake. So you have to practice that. The first time you left foot brake, you're gonna put your nose on the steering wheel from braking too hard. Especially if you're coming from a manual transmission vehicle. And more so if you have a manual transmission with a heavy clutch because you're used to really pushing on it. I'm thinking about older Trans Ams and Mustangs or even Porsches with cable clutches, which are really, really heavy. Yeah, the first time you try to left foot brake, it's gonna be like, oh man, hit your head on the windshield kind of thing. We are holding steady at 31.7 now. There's my apex. And back into the cruise control on exit. Ugh, I can feel it's dragging the brakes through here. Flicker of 31.8 back to 31.7. So it looks like we are clawing back that pit stop that we were forced to take. So chucking it into 9.
I see that Rivian. He's getting around the Corolla guy. We tangled with the Corolla guy a couple times back at the beginning. Again, got that little bit of chirp from the front end as I set the steering angle going in. Let's see, cross and start finish. 4:23.63, right where we wanted to be. So we've had a couple mislaps in there, going a little bit faster, but we are consistent. Trail bar getting into 1. Only because I'm coming up on this RAV4 pretty quick. We're definitely going to pass you coming out of here because there's no way. There's no way. Okay. Alright. I have no choice. He's got his windows down. We got ours up. We're in aero mode. We're trying to maximize everything. Got no AC on. I could turn the AC on. I don't think it would make a difference. It's actually not that bad. 75 degrees outside. Sunny day. Chugga. Come on. I feel like I should have put a sticker on here that said, "Did you realize it's a diesel?" My other car is not an EV. Take the tight race line down into the apex of this corner. There we go. And out we come. And we put the Insight behind us and we didn't block their line or anything. So there we go. There's no flagger to see me anyway. Bye-bye. It's called boost. Oh, there's a nice little crosswind happening right now. That is one thing that is a little sketchy sometimes in a vehicle like this. You get hit by a good crosswind, it starts to dance around, get pushed around. Oh, look at this, look at this, look at this! Nobody's paying attention. Wow. We almost had a race incident. You see that? Alright. I got some speed. I'm going around you. To get clobbered. That Rivian is really big. That is the R1S, it looks like from the badge, which is the SUV. I do like those lights in the front. I think they're really neat. It gives it, I don't know what to call it. It's like, it's got like a little anime kind of face, or it kind of looks like a hippo, you know, with these big nostrils. I don't know how to describe it, but it's pretty cool. .6 miles complete. We are holding at 31.7 miles per gallon average. Again, I was hoping 32 or better.
there's still time. That Rivian fell way back. He got passed by the Insight, and he's got the RAV4 looking to overtake him as well. I can only imagine that turn 1 has got to be sketchy in that thing. I'm also curious how much it weighs. You know, with a lot of these EVs, you know, again, I'm weighing 5,000 pounds or roughly there. It's like 49.95 or something like that, or a little over 5. I can't remember exactly, but I can only imagine that Rivian's got to weigh 7,500 pounds, maybe more. I mean, those battery packs, those cells are not light. Maybe somebody watching at home knows the answer to that, but I really want to drive that Corolla here, not at this speed. Definitely want to drive that. That is a hot hatch right now, if there ever was. 3-cylinder turbo, 300 horsepower. I believe available in all-wheel drive. I'm not sure US yet if available in all-wheel drive. I know it's available overseas, just like the Yaris was, the GR Yaris. Very cool car. Toyota's really in that phase right now of some really cool stuff, and I'm excited to see things like the Crown and the new Prius and whatnot. All the GR stuff is really neat. I mean, neither here nor there on the Supra. I mean, we all know underneath it's a BMW Z4, but it's still pretty cool. And in a world of A86, or not A86, GR86, Supra, and now Nissan Z in the mix, it's really cool to see those two, or sports coupes. But my money says the Corolla is more fun than the BRZ FRS GR86. Could be wrong. I know that having coached and driven the older BRZs, they can be a lot of fun, especially with superchargers and a lot of other stuff. They just lack horsepower, but they're, as I've said jokingly before, they're the Japanese 944. The 944s were a lot of fun. They didn't have any horsepower either. It's a well-balanced car, and handling is where it's at. But I mean, you give me 300 on tap. I don't know. That's a hard debate. Now, granted, you know, your mom's Camry has 300 horsepower now too, so like everybody makes 300 horse. Except for the GR86, right? It's still like 200 and change, but it's a smaller car, it's a light car. It'd be cool if Toyota offered it with the motor that's in the Corolla. That'd be fun. There was chatter in the paddock about them bringing the all-EV Toyota, because many people may or may not realize that Toyota is mostly hybrids. They do have a new collaboration with Subaru. It's the BR4E, if I remember the name correctly. And I talked to some people from Toyota earlier before the drivers' meeting, and they said there was supposed to be one here. There was supposed to be one kind of competing in the event, but they didn't see it. They didn't see it, you know, with the rest of the fleet cars that had showed up. So it would have been cool to see that out here, see one in person. All right, last lap was 4:22.54, crossing the line at 4:20.93. So we've kind of lessened our lap time since the pit stop. I don't know what this Corolla thinks he's doing. Trying to give him a little bit more berth coming out of the corner. It's like climbing on top of me. if he's figured out maybe he can go faster in the fun places and go slower in other spots, and then he can get the same speed. I'm not going for that strategy. I don't think that really works because it's too inconsistent. You have to be super accurate on when you got on the throttle to have, let's say, quote unquote fun. But I mean, realistically, if everybody was maintaining a consistent lap time and you were equally spaced apart, you would never catch anybody. But every lap is different. That's part of the challenge. I just don't understand why, you know, he'd be clawing into me in turn 1. .6 miles complete. I'm gonna just keep driving until the white flag is thrown because I don't know what else to do. We're at 11:25. There's 20 minutes to go. The truck doesn't seem to care. The needle is still basically on full. It has moved a little bit, but it's still on full. .9. 31.9. Come on, 32. Just to verify, it's there. Oh, it just dropped. Oh, man. Roughly 15 minutes to go. They didn't say where they're dropping the flag. I can assume it's at start finish only because there's no flaggers out here. So a little chirp from the front tires again. Mustang's out in pit lane. Like he's coming back on track. This is the yellow saline Mustang that we saw earlier with the guy sitting in the back. I guess there's 3 people in that car. It's a good day for driving a convertible. I just got to show you guys. There it is. Come on, 32. Come on, 32. And this Corolla is hanging off my wings. I don't like it.
Everybody saw that. It's gonna be like a 401. Oh, the cruise control re-engaged itself. That's interesting. And every once in a while it does that. The group of students that are hanging out in turn 6 are no longer there. I wonder where they migrated to. Chucking it into 7, trying to carry as much speed as possible. The guy has a track map up on his dashboard. So I don't remember what year Prius it is that when they, I think they put a bigger motor in it, because if I remember, like the early ones were like a 1200 cc or maybe a 1400 or a 1.4 liter. I can't imagine going up steep hills if you're not on battery that it isn't like wanting to just go like completely backwards. It's not a super light vehicle, so. These hills are nothing to sneeze at. Caught up to the NC Miata that sort of said, oh, there's the white flag, there's the white flag, there it is. 1 lap to go. 75.6 miles complete. We did lose some MPG getting around the Mustang and that Kia EV6. We're down to 31.6 miles per gallon. These guys next to me have seen me. They'll hear me in a second. Oh, he backed way off. That just killed his lap time. 417 on that, despite the that little burst of acceleration that we did. I don't know why my Mac charger isn't working, so I'm going to try to hardwire in to keep the stream going, since we only have basically this lap left. Ah, crud. Sorry about that, folks. We did catch the lightning, however. I'm literally driving with my knees right now. Put you guys back up there. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. The camera will refocus in a second. Since we're on Beltway traffic here, it's a good time to drink. Gotta stay hydrated. The guy in the lightning I took pictures of, he has this giant stuffed grizzly bear as his navigator. Absolutely hilarious. And it's in like Ford Motorsport, gear, wearing a polo shirt and a ball cap and a bunch of other stuff. Really, really cute. We just passed a couple people. After this, we will have a short break, and then we are going to be broadcasting from the media center at Watkins Glen. They're going to be doing a tech talk, and then after lunch and the tech talk, there will be an autocross. So, and I will try to have the camera set up for that. It'll be pretty stationary, but you'll get to see some of the runs. Pretty small autocross lot. They're going to use they call it the East Paddock, which if you've ever been to Watkins Glen, it's that little lot after the little speed shop, if you know where that is, kind of at the end of the garage bays. I was thinking it was going to be in the World Challenge touring car paddock, where some guys have camped before, kind of down the bigger autocross lot, but since this is opening weekend for the Glen, they are using that to stage for tomorrow's event, and they have all these like Disney World looking metal grates everywhere, kind of blocking what would normally be used for the SEC autocrosses. So a little different configuration than we were assuming, but either way we will do our best to bring you coverage of everything that's going on today. And then after the autocross, later this afternoon, we will have the award ceremony. So I guess we get to see how we did overall, and we get to see, I have a feeling we won our class, being the only diesel, but we get to see how we did overall, kind of stack ranking us against all the other cars out here in the Green Grand Prix. So it has been an interesting 78.6 miles. Again, averaging 31.7. Kind of clawed back that burst of speed there from earlier. Checkered flag is out. I'll try to get it in view here as we come up. This is like the only flagger station that's actually manned on the track here is at turn 10. See him out there waving that checkered flag. Wave to the flaggers. Thank you. So we were instructed to come in and then go to pit, go to the tech shed. Where they put the transponders on, where they will just cut the zip tie and move on. All right, well, thanks for tuning in for this segment of the Green Grand Prix. We will be back in a little bit as we transfer over to the media center, and stay tuned throughout the day.